Now that surge in arrest has inundated an already troubled jail. Shelby County Sheriff Floyd Bonner sharing an open letter to Mayor Lee Harris about jail issues while also calling out the mayor's lack of support. New tonight at 6, Sheriff Bonner sat down with Action News 5 Sydney Gray. She brings us the issues and the letter in the sheriff's own words.
The mayor is putting out a lot of misinformation. If you've seen some of the things that he's said, one of the most disappointing things is what he said the state should take over the jail.
County Mayor Lee Harris recently called jail deaths, quote, really troubling, and says the jail is in need of reform badly. Harris even suggesting the jail be privately operated. Sheriff Floyd Bonner says it's his duty to operate the jail, but says the mayor isn't communicating with him.
Over the last 7.5 years, Mayor Harris has not offered to help the Shelby County Sheriff's Office at all with anything.
Harris's main concern, the jail deaths, something Sheriff Bonner did address, offering condolences, but noting many enter 201 with pre-existing conditions that he says often aren't disclosed.
We're not finding these people in their cells dead. These people are dying in a hospital.
Mayor Harris said, quote, I think the community deserves to hear what the sheriff's office is doing to address the ongoing deaths inside the facility. But the sheriff questioned how Mayor Harris has handled the correctional center. Why call out the penal farm and what's going on over there?
Well, that's under his purview, so if you're gonna you want to call me out, then let's talk about what you're running as well.
His letter pointing out jail deaths, assaults, and employee misconduct at the County Correctional Center. Sheriff Bonner says Mayor Harris has not offered transparency.
Right now, the conversations are not happening. And, we're seeing this. I'm doing an interview with you. He may be doing interviews. I mean, he's done interviews in the past. But yet and still, he's never picked up the telephone and called me and said, Sheriff, what can I do to help?
Mayor Harris also stating, quote, I will continue exploring every option available to improve management and training at the jail. Sydney Gray, Action News 5.
We should note this afternoon during Sydney's interview with the sheriff, his office learned that 201 Poplar has been recertified by the Tennessee Corrections Institute. TCI voted on that earlier this week.